Hi friends, I am Suresh. In this PPT, let us discuss about the sources, effects and control of chemical pollutants. Only mercury and lead we have to discuss. Also we have to talk about secondary air pollutants, ozone and its depletion. Chemical pollutants. In chemical pollutants in your syllabus only we have to talk about the sources, effect and control of lead and mercury. The heavy metal ions like mercury, lead, arsenic, etc., they are highly dangerous to human beings because once they enter into our body cannot exit them. These metal ions like mercury, lead, arsenic or cadmium, they may present in soil or in water or in air also. The sources of lead. Use of leaded petrol in automobiles. In the early days, we were using tetraethyl lead as anti-knocking agent in IC engine to reduce the knocking tendency. During combustion, lead used to come into the atmosphere through the exhaust, where it will affect the life of plant and animals. Because of this disadvantage, nowhere in the world we are using leaded petrol. Instead, we are using unleaded petrol, the petrol containing MTBE, methyl tertiary butyl ether. The processing and smelting of lead ore. During metallurgical process to obtain lead from lead ores, there also lead may enter into the soil. Use of lead compounds like lead sulfate or lead chloride, etc. In laboratories or in industries, we may use lead compounds for the production of many compounds. There may be the chances of entry of lead into the soil or water or air. Use of lead containing materials like PVC pipes, cable sheathing, lead acid batteries, lead electrodes, cathode ray emission tubes of TV and computer monitor, etc. In all these materials, lead will be there. Lead may enter into the soil or water or air. So like this, these are the sources of lead. Through these sources, lead may enter into the soil or water or air. If the concentration of lead exceeds the permissible limit, it will affect the plant and animal life. If it enters, it will enter the brain tissue and damage the central nervous system. It may also damage kidney functioning, immune system and cardiovascular system. The concentration exceeds the permissible limit, so it will cause the damages like this. It enters the bloodstream and inhibits the production of hemoglobin, causing anemia, decreases the oxygen carrying capacity of blood. So it decreases the production of hemoglobin, thereby causing anemia, and also it decreases the oxygen carrying capacity of blood. It decreases the growth and reproductive rates of plant and animals. If its concentration is more in soils or in water, it will decrease the growth and the reproductive rates of plants and animals. These are the effects of concentration of lead if it is in soil or in water or in air. Then how to control? Lead contaminant in soil or in water or in air can be controlled by using unleaded petrol in automobiles. Instead of using leaded petrol, if you use unleaded petrol in automobiles, we can stop the entry of lead into soil, water or air. Eliminating lead contaminant in drinking water. If lead is there in the drinking water, before using the water for drinking purpose or kitchen purpose, we have to remove by subjecting that contaminated water for reverse osmosis process or distillation process or filtration using carbon filters. We have to remove the lead content in water. Using proper methods to dispose industrial or domestic waste containing lead. In case if it is inevitable for us to use lead compounds in industry or domestic for our applications, while throwing the waste, care to be taken. So we have to remove the lead content in the waste and then we have to discharge the industrial or domestic waste. Banning lead containing materials like batteries or electrodes. We have to stop or ban the use of lead containing battery or electrodes. Minimizing the plant absorption by lead from soil by maintaining soil pH level at 6.5 and adding organic manure like composted leaves and manure. Instead of using chemical fertilizers, if you use a compost organic manure and if you maintain the soil pH at about 6.5, then we can prevent the absorption of uh, lead by the plants from soil. So if there is a concentration of lead in the soil, this will be absorbed by the plants. Then if you use the food of plants, then the lead also will enter into our body. So therefore, by maintaining pH level of soil at 6.5 and by using organic manure, we can minimize the absorption of lead from soil by plants. Like this, we can control the entry of lead into soil and water and air. Next dangerous material is mercury. Mercury also very dangerous. It affects human health and ecosystem and is a global pollutant. The sources. Natural sources like volcanic emission. During volcanic emissions also lead will enter into the soil or water. During processing and smelting of mercury ore. During metallurgical process while obtaining mercury from mercury ores. So there will be the chance of entry of mercury into the soil or water. Use of mercury compounds like mercuric sulfate, mercury chloride in the factories or in the laboratories where we use mercuric sulfate and mercury chloride. There also the chance of entry of mercury into the soil or in water. Use of mercury containing materials like thermometers, mercury vapor lamps, batteries, electrodes, electric switches, dental amalgam, etc. In all these cases we use mercury. During discharging waste, the mercury will enter into the soil or water or air. So like this, mercury will discharge into the ecosystem. These are the sources. Effects. Elemental and monomethyl mercury once enters the body can easily pass through the cell membrane and brain tissue. It causes damage to central and peripheral nervous system. Once the lead species enter into our body through the soil or water or air, where it passes through the cell membrane and brain tissue, it damages the central nervous system. It affects digestive and immune system, lungs and kidneys. It reduces the production of hemoglobin, causing ammonia. Once it enters our body, it reduces the production of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin rate of production will be reduced, leading to anemia. Inorganic salts of mercury are corrosive to skin, eyes, and gastrointestinal tract. Gastrointestinal tract, eyes, skins will be affected by the lead species which is present in the inorganic salts. It results in complex neurological problems, especially in young children and babies below 10 years of age. So in this way, if lead species is there in soil or in water or in air than the permissible limits, so it affects the human and the plant life. How to control? Mercury contaminant in soil or in water or in air can be controlled by avoiding the mercury mining and use of mercury in gold extraction. During gold extraction also mercury will be used, and if we avoid the mercury mining and use, so in gold extraction we can minimize the entry of mercury into soil or water or air. Eliminating mercury contaminant in drinking water. If mercury is there in the drinking water, by subjecting the drinking water for the processes like reverse osmosis, distillation, electrodialysis, then we can remove the mercury content in the water. Discontinuing the usage of non-essential mercury containing products such as batteries, thermometers, electrode lamps, skin lightening products, etc. In all these products, we have to minimize the use of mercury, or we have to discontinue its usage to prevent the entry of mercury into soil, water or air. Use of fabric filters, wet scrubbers or electrostatic precipitators at the source to control the entry of mercury. The emission of mercury can be controlled The mercury content in air can be controlled by passing the flue gas through fabric filters or wet scrubbers or electrostatic precipitators. We can remove the lead content and we can remove the clean air into the atmosphere. Using proper methods to dispose industrial or domestic waste containing mercury. In case if it is inevitable for us to use some mercury compounds in industry or domestic applications, after getting the required product, care to be taken while discharging the industrial or domestic waste containing mercury. By taking proper care, so we can stop or we can minimize the entry of mercury into the soil or water or air. So like this, we can control or we can minimize the entry of mercury in the soil or in water or in air. Secondary air pollutants. We have discussed about the primary air pollutants. They are the pollutants they will directly release it into the atmosphere, like oxides of carbon, oxides of sulfur and oxides of nitrogen. But secondary air pollutants, they are not directly released into the atmosphere, but they form when primary pollutants react in the atmosphere, like ozone, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, etc. Ozone. Ozone in the stratosphere formed by the photodissociation of oxygen molecules by absorbing UV radiations of 240 nanometer wavelength. In the stratosphere, ozone is very important for us. It prevents the entry of harmful radiations to reach the Earth's surface. There in the stratosphere, ozone is formed when UV light radiations they interact with oxygen molecule. This oxygen molecule will be dissociated to give oxygen atoms. This oxygen atom they will again react with the oxygen giving ozone molecule in the stratosphere. In the stratosphere, it has positive applications. In the ground level also, troposphere also, ozone is formed by the action of sunlight on NO2, nitrogen dioxide and volatile organic compounds. If the concentration of NO2 and volatile organic compounds is high on the ground level, at the ground level, it will interact with the UV radiations of sunlight giving NO and oxygen atom. This oxygen atom reacts with oxygen giving oxygen molecule at ground level. Also volatile organic compounds, if they are there at the ground level, they will react with the sunlight giving ozone molecule. So these ozone molecules they will be formed at the ground level when nitrogen dioxide and volatile organic compounds they will interact with the UV radiations of sunlight. Like this, in the stratosphere and also in troposphere, ozone is formed. Effect of ozone layer. Ozone has both positive and negative effects. It has positive effect in stratosphere. In stratosphere, ozone is more beneficial, preventing the entry of harmful UV radiations reaching Earth's surface and protects the life of plants and animals. It has negative effect at ground level. Ozone has high oxidation potential. It can damage mucous membrane, respiratory tract, cause asthma and breathing problems. If there is high concentration of oxygen at ground level, more than the permissible limit, it will cause these damages at ground level. It reduces the growth and yield of main crops, agricultural crops. Their yield and growth will be reduced if the concentration of ozone is more at ground level. It reacts with hydrocarbons and forms photochemical smog. If the concentration of ozone is more at ground level in the presence of oxides of nitrogen, oxygen and sunlight, it will form photochemical smog. In the photochemical smog, the main component is PAN, peroxynitrile compound, which is highly dangerous. It causes asthma, bronchitis, etc. So these are the positive and negative effects of ozone. The positive effect in stratosphere and negative effect in troposphere at ground level. Depletion of ozone layer. In the stratosphere, ozone layer is getting depleting due to the compounds like chlorofluorocarbons. These are used as coolants in refrigerators and in air conditioners. These chlorofluorocarbons, when they come into the atmosphere, they will rise us, they move up in the atmosphere, they go to stratosphere. In the stratosphere, they interact with the UV radiations, giving chlorine free radical. This chlorine free radical, it breaks the ozone layer, giving chlorine monoxide free radical. Then this chlorine monoxide free radical interacts with the oxygen atom, giving more number of chlorine free radicals. Each chlorine free radical can destroy 1 lakh of ozone molecules. Therefore, here this chlorofluorocarbon acts as a transporting agent for continuous generation of chlorine free radicals. This will break down the ozone molecule, ozone layer in the stratosphere. This is the threat from chlorofluorocarbons, which we are using as coolants in refrigerators and in air conditioners. These chlorofluorocarbons in the stratosphere, they go to stratosphere and they come to atmosphere, they go to stratosphere. In the stratosphere, they react with UV radiations, forming chlorine free radicals. This chlorine free radical damages the ozone, giving chlorine monoxide free radical. This chlorine monoxide free radical reacts with the oxygen atom, giving more number of chlorine free radicals. This chlorine free radical continuously damages the ozone layer. The chlorine radical is continuously generated and causes the breakdown of ozone. Thus, chlorofluorocarbons acts as a transporting agent for continuous generation of chlorine radicals in the stratosphere and damaging the ozone layer. In this way, ozone layer will be depleted due to the chlorofluorocarbons. Effects of depletion of ozone layer. If the ozone layer is getting depleted in the ozone layer, what are its problem? As ozone layer depletes in the stratosphere, more UV radiations enters into the troposphere, where UV radiations lead to aging of skin, cataract, sunburn, skin cancer, damage to fish productivity, etc. If the harmful radiations, UV radiations from sun, they reach the Earth's surface directly, so it causes these problems. So the damage of ozone layer leads to these problems. Then how to control? Encourage growth of plants and discourage deforestation. So encouraging the growth of more number of plants on earth and discouraging deforestation, cutting down the plants we have to decrease. Ground level ozone can control by preventing the emission of NO2 and VOCs. So emission of nitrogen dioxide and volatile organic compounds should be reduced. If their concentration is more on the surface of earth, by the action of sunlight, it will form ozone on the surface of the earth at ground level. If there is a high concentration of ozone at ground level, it also causes some problems like damage to mucous membrane, etc. In stratosphere, depletion of ozone layer can be prevented by using hydrochlorocarbons instead of using chlorofluorocarbons. In that place, if you use hydrochlorofluorocarbons and hydrofluoroalkanes, we can minimize the depletion of ozone layer in the stratosphere. So already I told you, once the chlorofluorocarbons enter into the atmosphere, they go to stratosphere. In the stratosphere, they will interact with the UV radiations, giving chlorine free radical. That chlorine free radical will damage the ozone layer. But the use of hydrochlorofluorocarbon and hydrofluoroalkanes, when they come into the atmosphere, before reaching the stratosphere, they will undergo complete degradation. There will be no threat to ozone layer from this HCFC or HFA compounds. Therefore, nowadays we are using this hydrochlorofluorocarbons and HFA in the place of chlorofluorocarbons. Like this, by concentrating on these three factors, we can minimize the depletion of ozone layer in the stratosphere. Thank you.